You just checked your phone. Maybe it was 30 seconds ago. Maybe it was 2 minutes. But you checked it, and if you think back, you're not entirely sure why. There was no sound, no buzz, just a pull. A quiet, almost invisible urge that moved your hand before your brain had a chance to weigh in. And here's the thing. That pull isn't a bad habit. It isn't laziness. It isn't even your fault in the way you think it is. The real reason you can't stop checking your phone goes back hundreds of thousands of years before the phone was ever invented, to a time when your survival depended on something your brain still hasn't unlearned. Your ancestors lived in a world that wanted to kill them. Not metaphorically, literally. Every hour of every day, the environment held real threats. Predators in the grass, rival groups over the ridge, strangers with unknown intentions. The brain that survived in that world was not a calm brain. It was a scanning brain, a brain that could not afford to look away for too long, a brain that treated every new piece of information as potentially life-saving because sometimes it was. That brain is your brain, right now, today. Neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp spent decades studying what he called the seeking system, a deeply ancient circuit wired into mammalian brains that generates the drive to search, explore, and anticipate reward. This system does not care what you're seeking. It just wants you to keep going, keep checking, keep scanning. It was built for a world where the next piece of information might be the piece that saved your life. Your phone plugs directly into that circuit. Every refresh, every scroll, every notification is a tiny hit of dopamine from that same ancient seeking engine. Not because the phone hacked your brain, but because the phone found something that was already there. You have to understand how old this system is. Behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner did a now famous experiment in the 1950s. He put pigeons in a box with a lever. Some levers gave food every time they were pressed. Others gave food randomly. The pigeons that got food every single time, they pressed the lever at a reasonable rate and then stopped. But the pigeons that got food randomly, they became obsessed. They pressed the lever over and over, unable to stop, unable to predict when the reward would come next. You are a pigeon with a lever. Your phone does not give you something satisfying every time you check it. Most of the time, there is nothing there. A meme, an email you don't need to answer, a notification for an app you forgot you installed. But occasionally, unpredictably, there is something. A message from someone you wanted to hear from, a piece of news that matters, a comment that makes you feel seen. That unpredictability is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. It is the most powerful reinforcement schedule ever discovered by behavioral science, and your device runs on it 24 hours a day. Researcher Anna Lemke at Stanford calls this the dopamine nation problem. Her work on compulsive behavior shows that the same neurological machinery that makes gambling addictive, that makes slot machines work, that makes hunting for food rewarding, is the exact same machinery that makes scrolling feel impossible to stop. The reward is never certain. The next one might be the good one. So you keep going. But it goes even deeper than the reward. Your brain has a second system working alongside the seeking circuit. It is the threat detection system, and it is significantly more powerful than your reward system. In evolutionary terms, that makes sense. Missing a reward was unfortunate. Missing a threat was fatal. So your brain is wired to prioritize threat information above almost everything else. Now think about what your phone delivers. Every news headline is written to trigger threat detection. Every social notification carries the possibility of social threat. Someone is upset, someone didn't respond, someone saw your message and didn't reply. Even the absence of a notification activates this system. If no one has messaged you in 2 hours, your ancient brain does not interpret that as a peaceful afternoon. It interprets it as a signal. Something may be wrong. Better check again. This is not anxiety in the clinical sense. This is your brain performing exactly the function it was designed to perform, inside an environment it was never designed to inhabit. Psychologist Larry Rosen has spent 30 years studying what he calls technoference, the interference that technology creates with human attention and well-being. His research found that the average person checks their phone once every 12 minutes. That is not because people are undisciplined. That is because the threat detection system and the seeking system are running continuously in the background, and every 12 minutes or so, one of them wins. Here is what makes this especially fascinating. It is not the phone itself that does this, it is the social information inside the phone. Researchers at UCLA found that the brain's response to social information, to being accepted, to being rejected, to being ignored, runs through the same neural pathways as physical pain and physical pleasure. Your brain does not cleanly separate social reality from physical reality. Being left on read activates the same pain circuitry as touching a hot stove. Getting a response from someone you care about activates the same reward circuitry as eating when you're hungry. Your brain evolved in small groups of somewhere between 50 and 150 people. In that world, your social standing was everything. Being excluded from the group could mean death. Being trusted by the group meant resources, protection, reproduction. So your brain treats social information as survival information because for most of human history, it was. Your phone gives you access to social information from hundreds or thousands of people, constantly, in real time. Your brain cannot scale to that. It is trying to monitor the social landscape of a small hunter-gatherer band and instead receiving a continuous flood from the entire world. And so it cannot look away. Think about how you feel when your phone is in another room. Not gone, not broken, just in another room. Most people describe a low-grade discomfort, a background awareness of the phone's location, a quiet pull to go back to it. That feeling has a name. Researchers call it nomophobia when it becomes severe. But even in its mild, everyday form, it is your threat detection system running a continuous background check. The phone is a social monitoring device, and your brain treats it the way your ancestors treated the tree line. You don't need to look at it every second, but you need to know it's there. This is not weakness. It is ancient architecture running in a new world. And here is where it gets genuinely strange. The research on checking behavior shows something counterintuitive. Checking more often does not reduce anxiety. It increases it. Every time you check and find nothing important, your brain does not relax. It recalibrates. It decides that the check cycle should be shorter next time. You have not satisfied the seeking system. You have trained it. You have told it that checking is the correct response to uncertainty, and now it wants to check more frequently, not less. Neuroscientist Kent Berridge at the University of Michigan separates what he calls wanting from liking. These are two distinct systems. Liking is the actual pleasure you feel when something good happens. Wanting is the drive to seek it out. The strange and important thing his research discovered is that these systems can become completely decoupled. You can desperately want something that you do not actually like when you get it. Your phone checking is almost entirely in the wanting column. Think about the last time you checked your phone and felt genuinely satisfied. Not relieved, not briefly distracted. Actually satisfied. That moment is rare, but the wanting, the urge to check, is constant. Your brain keeps generating it because the circuit that generates it was never designed to switch off. It was designed to run until you found what you needed, or until something stopped you. In the ancient world, there were things that stopped it. Darkness, exhaustion, the physical limits of your environment. You could not seek past the horizon. You could not monitor your entire social group while you slept. The world itself gave your seeking system a ceiling. Your phone removed the ceiling. There is no natural stopping point in a feed that has no end. There is no darkness that makes the notifications stop. There is no exhaustion your brain can use as a signal to quit scanning, because the scanning requires almost no physical energy. You can lie in bed, eyes half open, and your seeking system will continue to run. Researchers at the University of Texas found that the mere presence of a smartphone, sitting face down on a desk, silent, not in use, measurably reduces cognitive capacity. Your brain is devoting resources to monitoring the phone even when you are not looking at it. It cannot help it. The device registers as a social monitoring opportunity, and part of your attention is always partly allocated to it. But here is the thing that changes everything about how you look at this. You did not break. Your brain is doing exactly what it was shaped by millions of years of selection pressure to do. It is scanning its environment for threats and rewards. It is treating social information as survival information. It is running a reinforcement schedule that evolution discovered long before Skinner put a pigeon in a box. The phone is not a flaw in you. It is a tool that found the operating system underneath everything you think of as self-control. And it plugged straight in. Knowing this does not automatically stop the urge, but it changes what the urge means. The next time your hand moves toward your phone before your brain has a chance to decide, you are not failing at discipline. You are watching 500,000 years of survival strategy fire in a world that has moved faster than evolution can follow. Your brain is still scanning the tree line. It just happens to look like a rectangle in your pocket now. The pull is ancient. The phone is new. And somewhere in the gap between those two things is the version of you that is still, after all this time, trying to make sure you survive.